The film begins with us seeing several people editing another star on the alley, named Elizabeth Sparkle. Time passes, and people have already lost interest in this star. It has cracked and become ugly. Then we are transferred to the studio, where they are filming a fitness lesson for a TV program. The host is our main character, an adult woman, the same Elizabeth Sparkle. The filming is over, and she goes to the dressing room, and on the way she is congratulated on her birthday. Suddenly, she goes into the men's room, goes into the booth, but immediately after her comes an adult man, who is talking on the phone and demands that someone find a new, young and beautiful actress, while mentioning that it is unclear how the current one is still working at her age. Elizabeth understands that they were talking about her. The next scene, and our heroine is eating with this same man in a restaurant. In conversation, he was unable to tell her face what is said on the phone. On the way home, she notices workers tearing down a billboard advertising her photo, but because she was distracted, her car gets into an accident. Already at the hospital, the doctor tells her that she is generally fine. The doctor leaves, but her assistant conducts another test. He lets her go with the words, "You are an excellent candidate." On the street, she takes something and a note out of her pocket, but she is distracted by a man who, it turns out, was her classmate. He invites her to dinner and leaves her his number on a piece of paper that fell into the mud. The thing from her pocket turns out to be a memory card with the inscription "Substance," and at home she decides to check what information is stored on it. A question comes from the speakers: "Have you ever dreamed of becoming a better version of yourself?" Then the voice explains the conditions under which you can become younger and more beautiful. Elizabeth throws the flash drive in the trash and goes to a bar for a drink. In the evening, she looks at her many awards and throws one at her portrait on the wall. She takes the memory card out of the trash can and calls the number to order the injection mentioned in the video. She is given the address. Morning, no joy. Elizabeth finds an ad in the newspaper looking for a young girl to replace her. She finds number 503. She goes to the address. She enters a strange area. Then an old door. The card opens it, but not completely, and she has to crawl through on her haunches. A dark corridor. A bright white room. In it are cells with numbers. One of them is 503. Inside is a box. In it is one dose of the injection. Under it are more and more bags and rules. Before the injection, Elizabeth examines her ugly figure in the mirror. An injection in the arm. Silence. But she falls. She feels bad. She starts to spin. Something moves under the skin. The pupil splits in two. The body is torn apart, and something appears from there. Then we see our body, but not in the mirror, but from a third person. But in the mirror, we see a young, beautiful girl. This is Elizabeth, but different, beautiful and stunning. This is something incredible. The drug works. The old shell continues to lie on the floor. She stitches up the wound through which she climbed out. This is how it should be. Now she needs nutrition from the bag that was in the box with the injection. Night, morning, char, enjoying the young body, getting used to the new appearance, stabilization from the bag. It is necessary to pump out the fluid from the old body and inject it into the new one. New body, new opportunities, and at about a casting catches your eye. Our heroine goes to conquer this world again. The casting goes badly with other girls, but Elizabeth appears. Of course, they take her. She is new. Her name is Sue. The director meets her. The broadcast is in 2 weeks. There is one condition. She will have to go away every other week for a week to visit her sick mother, and the director is ready to agree to any conditions. The new show is launched. Things are going well. Our Sue is happy. It's time to return to the old body, because a week has passed. The procedure is started, and in a moment, Elizabeth comes back to life with a wound on her back. She is very hungry. Having eaten her fill, she returns to the studio. The satisfied, hypocritical director meets her with a box of her things and words of farewell. At home, she schedules the calendar by weeks. The days drag on, boring days in the old body. A notification letter arrives about a new box with a new injection. 2 days until the transformation. And here again is a happy young life, full of colors and pleasures. Young Sue begins to experience strange feelings for the old body, knocks on the walls, finds something, breaks through the wall, makes something. The neighbor comes to complain about the noise, but unexpectedly sees not Elizabeth, but young beautiful Sue. He drags the body back to the bathroom, but this time we see a secret room for the body already prepared. New filming, again a feeling of happiness and popularity. This life is wonderful. Sue is wonderful. The director is delighted. The new body gives new opportunities. Sue wants to stay in this body longer. She leaves for a party. Meanwhile, Elizabeth's food is running out, but Sue is in the apartment. She just has other worries now. More precisely, and the old body requires food. Sue's ears are ringing. She needs to change. She does not want to do this. There should be no exceptions. But Sue decides otherwise. She breaks the rules. Because of this, bloody intestines fly out from under her clothes. But this is a dream. The old body wakes up. Elizabeth wakes up. She sees a note from a guy on the glass. And when she reaches to take it off, she notices an H finger on her hand. The realization comes that the rule was broken, and the finger is a side effect. She calls the supplier to clarify how to solve the problem. She is told that this can no longer be fixed, and she must strictly follow the rules so that this does not happen again. While cleaning the apartment, she sees a show with Sue. She is shocked by her beauty. Or is it not her own? Someone rings the doorbell. It is a neighbor who has come to visit Sue. He invites her over. Elizabeth takes a shower and goes to get another dose of the substance. During this, she begins to have a persecution mania and seems to hear some voices. She runs into a cafe and makes an order. Some man starts a conversation with her about how these 7 days are a long time. She realizes that this is the young doctor who gave her the number. The man continues the conversation, which makes Elizabeth nervous. She gets scared and runs home. She takes a box of old things out of the closet, in which she finds a piece of paper with the number of Fred, that same classmate of hers. She invites him to have coffee. He agrees. This gives her self-confidence. In the evening, she gets ready, dresses beautifully, and puts on makeup. Before leaving the apartment, she sees a billboard with a photo of Sue and she feels uneasy. She returns to the bathroom and changes her makeup, but again, she cannot bring herself to leave the apartment. Feeling very insecure, again the bathroom, again takes off her makeup. She really doesn't like her appearance, and in the end, she doesn't go anywhere. The refrigerator opens. Elizabeth takes a pie. We see Sue on the set again. During the dance, she thought she saw something come out of her buttock. The whole team starts to review this moment, but Sue at this time runs to the dressing room. She feels something hard on her buttock and tries to get it through her belly button. There is a fried chicken leg. And suddenly Sue wakes up in her secret room. It was a dream. A dream after Elizabeth ate a lot before rebirth. Sue returns to the studio, but there is no one there. The producer urgently calls her to the office. She goes into the office, afraid of bad news, but the producer says that she is being removed from the morning show due to soaring ratings. He puts her to host the New Year show, live for 50 million viewers. She returns to Elizabeth and extends her 7 days, breaking the rules. And then again and again, she needs to work and love herself. The moment comes for Elizabeth to return, and something terrible happens. Because of the imbalance, her body looks terrible. She calls the supplier and complains about Sue, but does not dare to stop the experiment. In the evening, in front of the TV, she has problems with her knee. She cannot straighten her leg. It is terrible pain. Sue begins to be shown on TV, and Elizabeth at this time begins to diligently cook various dishes. On the show, Sue humiliates Elizabeth in front of the whole country, calling her old-fashioned and outdated. Out of anger at Sue, Elizabeth has a nervous breakdown. Sue is back again and sees all the horror that Elizabeth has done. She decides to pump almost all the stabilizer out of Elizabeth's body in order to stay in her young body for as long as possible. After 3 months of uninterrupted life, Sue continues to enjoy life. She has a new boyfriend, and tomorrow is her finest hour to a New Year's show on live television. Before going to bed, she goes to collect another portion of the stabilizer, but sees that instead of it, there is some kind of brown liquid. She calls the supplier, but it says that she needs to switch with Elizabeth to continue living. She is getting worse and worse. She crawls to Elizabeth and switches. The guy in the bedroom wakes up from the noise and goes to the bathroom, but Elizabeth is waiting for him there, who already looks completely different. This is some kind of monster, not Elizabeth. Frightened by the sounds, the guy runs away, and Elizabeth goes into the room, calls the supplier, and asks to stop the experiment. In the morning, he gets dressed and goes. No runs for the final dose to stop this horror. Returning home, he pulls out Sue's body, opens the box, and the voice asks again if she is sure. But she is sure, realizing that she will remain alone in this body forever. He injects the liquid, sees a bouquet with the inscription, "They will love you," and stops injecting the liquid. He takes out a syringe and asks Sue to wake up because Elizabeth needs her. He understands that something needs to be done. Suddenly, they are both alive. They look at each other. Sue sees the killer syringe, understands everything, and tries to kill Elizabeth. They start to fight. Elizabeth locks herself in the bathroom, but Sue kicks down the door. He continues to beat Elizabeth and smashes her head against the mirror. The floor is covered in blood. Elizabeth crawls away. The beating continues in the room. But after killing Elizabeth, Sue realizes that they are one whole, not two different people. So, the filming of the New Year's show. Everyone is ready. Sue is in the dressing room, in a beautiful blue dress, but suddenly she starts to feel bad. She goes to the toilet, coughing hard, and then she loses a tooth. A front tooth. She touches the next one and realizes that it also comes out easily. And the next one too. She pulls herself together, leaves the toilet, but suddenly the producer stops her and wants to introduce her to some man. He asks her to smile, but she smiles so as not to show her missing teeth. Then in the elevator, her nail falls off, and then her ear. She runs out into the street. Losing her sight, she goes into the apartment, looks for a bottle with an activator. She asks someone for a better version of herself. The process repeats, the back separates, and a new, better version of Sue appears from it. The new version comes to consciousness, sees Sue's body, but in the mirror a strange creature. It is just some kind of mess of human bodies and organs, with several faces, teeth and hands. She puts on a dress, looks in the mirror, dresses up for the party, cuts out a portrait of Elizabeth and glues it to her face, puts lipstick on the portrait. She walks down the street to the set. Everyone applauds her and says that she is very beautiful, but it seems to her the corridor is empty. On the stage, other girls are entertaining the audience. Suddenly the lights go out. The audience claps in anticipation of her appearance on stage. She goes out. The lights come on, and everyone sees that it is not Sue on the stage. No one understands anything. She speaks into the microphone. The mask flies off her face. Something crawls out of her head. She feels sick. It is terrible. Suddenly someone starts screaming. People panic. They call her a monster and ask to shoot her. They push her, continuing to call her a monster and a beast. And she insists that she is Sue. And suddenly some man chops off her head with an axe. But in its place, a new head grows and waters the entire hall with blood. Everything around her turns crimson and bloody. She goes outside and explodes. A face crawls out of the remains of her body and crawls toward the star named Elizabeth Sparkle. She remembers the time of her glory. The spectators applause, the ringing of joy, but she dissolves, spreading across the star as a bloody stain. In the morning, the cleaner washes her away with a machine.